vroom, 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 vroom. So I attended the wedding and they asked the best man to drive the groom, and just kept saying vroom, vroom. Anyways, I don't know why I even said that, but yeah. Today's conversation, I will be focusing on the automotive industry. Yes, automotive industry. What's that about? So I got this email from The Hustle. You guys can check it out, and they sort of talked about how big corporations are always bullying smaller companies. You know how you go make pitches to people, and then you're like, oh, we'll get back to you, or they give you the job and then they terminate your contract, which is just find something little, very very tiny to do away with you. So and this story features a company, an automobile brand that I really like, Ford. And when I said, I was like, oof, you should talk about it. So I just sat down, I did my research, and I, got to business. But before we get into the details, welcome to #IP series with your favorite podcast hosts, Rita and Wiri Chinda. Now, if you're a first time listener, you are welcome to my podcast. I hope you find my podcast interesting. I hope you learn something. And don't forget to subscribe and favorite my podcast so you don't miss out on any other juicy episodes that I will be publishing going forward. Now, for my returning listeners, I just want to say I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I saw my Spotify Wrapped for 2022 and I was blown away. So I just want to tell you guys, mwah, I love you guys. Thank you. But then please don't forget to share your favorite episodes with your friends and tell everyone about your favorite intellectual property podcast. So what do we do here? We talk about recent trends. So for today's recent trend and news flash, I don't know how many of you are aware that Nigeria now has a Plant Variety Act. Oh yes, we do. And I have a story about that as well. So if you haven't subscribed, please do the needful. So that's it for today. Then we also talked about development in the copyright sector. So in Nigeria, we're working on our copyright act, or there's a copyright bill which had a public hearing a few weeks ago. The trademark, we talk about trademark, talk about patent, industrial design for Nigeria, and design rights or patent design for jurisdiction like the United States, trade secrets. We have a juicy story as well. Geographical indication and plant varieties. So yeah, like I said, today's story features the automotive industry. Just let me know in the comment section what your favorite brand is, your favorite car, your favorite automobile brand. Just let me know. But yeah, let's get into today's story. Alrighty, so today's episode, like I earlier stated, focuses on the automotive sector. Now, this case, it's more than 30 years, but is an IP case or an IP litigation or an IP dispute that lasted for 30 long years. And this was a fight between an independent patent inventor over, the invention of the windshield wiper. That thing that keeps going as if you're doing hallelujah or you're waving your hands back and forth on your cars. This person was the original, so he created a very unique version and decided to go make a pitch to a company he had always admired, and I think he was also working there. But yeah, so my question is, as an IP owner, are you willing to fight for your intellectual property rights? So someone steals your idea. So ideas we know are not protected by IP, but let's say someone steals your trademark or your invention or your music or whatever it is. Are you willing to go all out, like spend 30 years of your money? Because to do all of that is capital intensive, trust me guys. But the summary of the story is this. So today's so the story is this. The name of our independent patent inventor is Robert King. King is spelled Kearn. Now he lost his left eye on his wedding night when he was, popping the champagne. Poop! I guess all the excitement and it hit his eye and he lost that particular eye, and that made it difficult for him. It made it difficult for him to see why he was driving, especially when it rained. So one day, on a rainy day in 1962, he thought to himself, wouldn't it be possible for a windshield wiper to pause between each wipe like a blinking eye? Blink, blink. Who blinked their eyes with me? So I actually also blinked my eye, I just kept imagining, sometimes I get, that flash of inspiration sometimes before I go to bed, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to write it down when I wake up, and then I wake up, I'm like, oh my god. So imagine if he hadn't put pen to paper to his idea. Now he went on to, so it's one thing to have the ideas, another thing to also go forward to express that idea either as a creative work or an invention or an innovative work. So he did all of that, and then he tried it on. He built his first intermittent wipe prototype and tried it on his Ford Galaxy, not Galaxy Samsung phone, no, please. But it's a model. It was an early 1962-63 model, and he drove that car to the Ford factory. So in his mind, he's like, I'm going to drive this car, make my pitch, license my work, open a supply shop at the end of the day. So I don't know how many of you have seen. I like to make reference to this movie because it has this particular scenario now has bits of it in the Tyler Perry movie with Tarachi, about the man, her husband, who invented something. I was like, well, I'm going to make a pitch and license, and he kept holding on for years because he saw the vision. So for IP owners, there are ways you can actually make money from your creative work or your invention. That's one of the ways, is through licensing. So when you license, you can go into an exclusive license arrangement or a non-exclusive license arrangement. So his whole plan was, I'm going to go there, make that pitch, get a license deal, boom, 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 set up my supply shop. But then in order to make that work, it had to, get the help of a mutual connection who, finally set up a meeting with him and the Ford engineering team of 10 to do a 45 minutes presentation. Now, after doing that presentation, he was told that the wiper had to run for 3 meters circle to ensure it meets their standard. And I was like, I guess everyone has their standards when it comes to let's see how their product should be, how it just has to be in line with your policy and principle and whatever. So he worked really hard for this project. He went ahead, bought an aquarium, filled it with a mixture of oil and sawdust. He installed the wiper and let it run for 6 months, and finally he scaled through that test, and then he went ahead to register a patent for his invention. Oh gosh, what am I going to say? So I always have this discussion with people, and I always hear things like, go sign an NDA, make them sign an NDA when you're making your pitch, and I'm like, I mean, how many people are honest enough to honor the terms of a contract? I would not advise my own client to opt for an NDA. So I rather tell you, if you say doing an IP registration is expensive, why not save up for it? Have a proper strategy and a structure before going to make that pitch. Because trust me, oh, like they say, ideas are not monopolistic in nature. Anyone can have the same idea as you, so you can't own an idea, and IP basically just does not protect ideas. So that's on that. That's on period. But yeah, after making the pitch and going through doing all the experiments, you finally went to do a patent registration. Kudos, I mean, you did well. But that doesn't stop anyone that wants to steal your work. You get. So once you register it and then you go make your pitch, blah blah blah, and they're like, okay, let's go ahead, or let's not go ahead. Just wait and see what will happen. Anyone who is phony will always show their true colors. So after registering his patent, when it comes to registering the patent, you have to meet the basic requirements. In Nigeria, we'll say under the Patent Act, Section 1 says, 1, it has to be new and novel. That means it's not existing anywhere, like nada. Nah. So even if it's existing, you are improving on an already existing invention. It's also not going to be obvious to a skilled person. So someone in that industry, if he sees, can say, oh, I know how you did this. Which is why you see that phone models like Samsung and Apple, or any other phone, or let's use the cars, which is our area of discussion for today. Every car has its own, functionality, what makes it stand out from every other brands out there. So shout out to my fellow Ford lovers, my first love. And then shout out to Innocent for doing a great job. I mean, despite everything. But yeah, we move. So King would be asked to do several other presentations. Like they not told him to do a detailed presentation, like how did you come up with the drawing, how did you think of this, how did you make the wiper do this, how did you I guess he was really excited, and I won't blame him. And he had to do that in front of the executive of Ford's company, Motors company, and also the engineering team of Ford's. And everyone liked his idea, but then they gave him a contract. So this was the catch. So we're going to sign a contract with you, employ you to work with us, but you have to disclose all of your engineering to us, because wipers are considered to be a safety item. Oh gosh. Okay. That would have been ringing bells. I don't know, but I guess maybe he was just too excited to get his product out there, and he didn't want to just lose that opportunity, and he went ahead, signed the contract, he got offered the job. Things were moving smoothly. Then 5 months later, gang. 5 Okay, so 5 months later, he gets his contract was terminated for no reason. Okay, now what they told him was, sorry, we have to end this relationship here. Ford Motor Company has come up with their own intermittent wiper, and we don't need your expert services anymore. Ugh. I feel for him though. And he left. And then fast forward to 6 years later, that's 1969. 6 years later, Ford released their own version of the intermittent windshield wiper on their line of Mercury cars. And by the year 1970, other brands like Chrysler, Honda, Volvo, Rolls-Royce, Saab, and other big brands started making their own. When he saw this, he wasn't happy about it. He had a mental breakdown. He had to be admitted into the psych ward. and that made his hair change color. So he was red-headed and became Snow White. So imagine Snow White as a man, you get. And he was not happy with the fact that no one actually acknowledged him. No one even paid royalties to him. I mean, how will I make a pitch to you and then 6 years later? So you took your time. So another way to look at it is it probably, updated or improved on his invention, but I don't know, guys. I think this one is I mean, so I had earlier said it has to be new or improved on an already existing model out there. So it's either they improved or it was very similar, but then he wasn't happy with the fact that he was not getting any acknowledgement. So we were inspired by Robert Key's intermittent wiper, which had shown to us previous years. He wanted all of that. And there's something that you get into now about patent. When you publicize your invention, you can't claim that it's new. You get. So after he recovered, he got himself, he hired a law firm to write a cease and desist letter stating that Ford Motors Company had infringed on his intermittent windshield wiper, and Ford was like, nah, we did not steal your inventive idea, and your ideas were not even valid because it was not sufficiently inventive. Like, what does that even mean? Anyways, in 1978, so 8 years later, he files a patent infringement and was asking for $350 million as compensation. And this was valued at $50 for every intermittent windshield wiper that was sold by Ford Motors Company. And it took how many years? So it was in 1990. So let's see, 1978 to 1990 is about 12 years. So it took the court. So the litigation lasted for 12 good years before he got judgment, or he won at the U.S. District Court during Detroit. He won $3.1 million for the patent infringement and lost royalties. The royalties are stipend, monetary stipend paid to the owner of an IP when you license from them. So imagine 350 million against 3.1 million. That was a huge loss, but he wasn't happy about it. So my research says that he did not go to court that day to hear the hearing, to hear what the judgment would be, because he just didn't want to be close to all this drama. But then he went after other brands like Chrysler and sued them for patent infringement, and he got 18.7 million. So let's say in total all he got for his work was about 21.8 million out of 350 million. Is that, do you guys really think it's a good deal? I don't think it was a good deal for me, because it's just very sad. I just think it's sad one. But so he won at that level. In reference to section 25 of section 25 sub 1 of our Nigerian Patent Act, it states that if you do the following acts listed in section 6, which is selling, manufacturing, producing, importing, using, or stocking for the purpose of sale or use, or for industrial or commercial purpose, that is an infringement. And I know that Ford Motors Company and Chrysler and all the other brands were in one way or the other guilty of this act, but all he got was 21.8 out of 350 million. Anyway, he attempted to sue other big brands, but they dismissed it for various reasons. One of the reasons was that he had obtained evidence illegally through his son. So his son, while reading this, I found out that his sons also, his children, everyone in his family contributed. instead of helping him with research, because he had fired 3 out of the 5 law firms he hired and ended up defending himself. So his son had to befriend someone in one of the firms that was representing one of the big car brands, and got evidence from the lady. So when he tendered it in court, when he submitted it and brought it in court as one of his evidence, the court said, "Whew, Chile, we can't. That evidence was illegally obtained." So yeah, that's it. But he ended up dying. He died in 2005, but he never got control over his invention. Was never acknowledged for his invention, even though people say he's the true inventor or father of that invention. But it's not there. Like, this is the man that brought this invention about the intermittent windshield wiper. I mean, Ford was really wrong, and we see that a lot in the IP space. It could be in the pharmaceutical companies, it could be in the musical company, it could also be in the telecoms, any sector. So it's like a constant battle between the big brands and the small brands, or the small brands against the big brands. So sometimes it's vice versa. However, there is a movie adaptation of this story called Flash of Genius. He is a genius, trust me. You guys can check it and let me know your thoughts. I put it on my status and someone's like, "Oh yeah, I do remember this story. I've watched this movie." So if you've watched Flash of Genius, please let me know in the comment section. So basically, the long and short, or the storyline about this episode is just focusing on intellectual property rights in the automotive industry. So few lessons from Robert Keane. One, remember how I always emphasize on the fact that IP interplays, that intellectual property interfaces with every sector and industry. And this case study focuses on the automotive industry, the role of intellectual property and intellectual property rights that exist. Before you make that pitch, please make sure you register and protect your invention, so you get legal backing. You're able to also enforce your intellectual property rights. Never disclose or display all your cards on the table. I mean, Robert Keane was asked to disclose all the details of his engineering before signing that contract, and he did that. That's something you should never do. Don't do it, even if the offer is too good to be true. Please don't do it, guys. One of the requirements for your invention to be granted a patent for a term of 20 years is that it must not have been disclosed to the public, which is very important. So don't go and do any newspaper publication. "Oh, we are creating this or inventing a blah blah blah." We don't want to see that. Don't go to the radio station and talk about it. Don't go to the TV station and talk about it. Just zip it. You get? Keep your mouth shut, because it has, other than not being disclosed, it has to meet the basic requirement of being new, not obvious to a skilled person, or you're improving on already existing invention out there. Every invention can enjoy a multi-layer of intellectual property rights and protection. For instance, 1, the functionality of the intermittent windshield wiper. And in this case, we know that Robert Keane said his idea came from the fact that he just thought to himself, would it be possible for a windshield wiper to pause in between, like, when you're blinking, like blink, not fast anymore, just blink normal. Thank you. What makes it work that way? I mean, there's something that you put in there that's different. You get, and his was obviously different from every other windshield wiper that was already existing. The visual appearance of your design, the color combination, everything. in the name of that particular model can be trademarked. The sketches can pass off as a literary work, so it's already written in a fixed form and expressed in a fixed form or media or tangible format. So copyright protection. Now, the other aspect is the trade secret, which is what makes your intermittent windshield wiper better than the already existing wipers out there. That's your trade secret. That gives you a competitive edge over any other intermittent windshield wiper. So the options are immersed. There's so many, guys. So if you own or you work in an automotive industry, please, while you're looking for funding or other stuffs, please consider the intellectual property aspect of your business. So it could be from the name, Ford Nod, similar. I feel it's too similar. Innocent is I find it to be a very fanciful or coinful name. So it could pass. It is a trademark. The options are so many. So you need to have an IP lawyer, one that is versed in patent law, or an engineer who has knowledge about patent law, because I know in the foreign jurisdiction, engineers, microbiologists, chemists, physicians are like the go-to people. So you need these people in your team. You need to have a good team. At the end of the day, your IP, your intellectual property, is one of the most important and valuable business assets you can ever own. Always consider the economic consideration of enforcing intellectual property. For instance, Robert King spent about $650,000 just for litigation alone. Not everyone can go that far in terms of, especially in jurisdiction like Nigeria, where cases could last for years. But then you also see that this is not peculiar to Nigeria. I mean, this case lasted for about 30 years. So the first judgment was gotten in 12 years. So when we keep crying and saying the judiciary this, judiciary that, it's not just a Nigerian thing. I know there's a case I've also talked about, the Please Call Me case. You guys can check it out. That's 25 years and counting. There's a recent H&M case that's lasted about 25 years. So for litigation, it's always the hassle is that. So you have a lot of complications in terms of technicalities, the judge is not sitting or a judge dying midway, all those things, change of counsel, that can, that could extend the term of which your matter should have been heard and be done with. I know right now they are currently various countries are introducing small claims IP courts, where if your claim is within a certain range, or it falls within the type of dispute that should fall under the small claims courts, that can be heard there. But yeah, I think that does it. So in wrapping up, what I'm going to say is that if you are in the automotive industry, just know that every detail about your automobile or your car is very important. And your best bet of protecting that is through patent. Then you can explore the multi-layered IP variation, explore and exploit every aspect of your intellectual property. It's very important for the success of your business, especially in the digital era. I mean, now you can have 3D printed cars. You can build a car using tech. You can, find. Now we have self-driving cars. That's how the automotive industry is going. So think bigger. Patenting the invention could also make or break your company, as it needs to excel. Ownership and having control over your invention is something that IP owners, especially in the automotive industry, need to take cognizance of. Because I know that authorship and control of your IP is something that is also evident in the creative sector. because everyone wants to control or have a say as to how their invention can be used. It's important that you come prepared to every pitch and negotiation. Make sure that you have a bargaining chip at the end of the day. Don't just go in there without any bullets or shield to protect yourself at the end of the day. Have an IP lawyer. I've already said that, versed in IP, preferably in patents, so they can advise you on the best mode of protection for your invention. And basically what an intellectual property does is they help you in protecting your invention. They can help you with the entire process for filing your patent applications, trademark application, design right. They can also represent you when you have a case. It's not like any lawyer can do that, but an IP lawyer will look at the IP elements of your dispute. If you have a dispute and there's a contract involved or that was signed, well, what was the best mode of resolving that dispute that was recommended in the contract? And as an arbitrator, a trained arbitrator with the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators UK Nigeria branch, I know we've always talked about having a multi-layered IP or a multi-layered dispute resolution clause. So you could go for negotiation to mediation to arbitration. You could opt for a hybrid, or use expert determination. There's so many options out there for you. So if you feel litigation is going to take too long, you can opt for alternative dispute resolution mechanisms such as arbitration or mediation, which are it saves time and costs. So cost is relative. It all depends on the sum of your claim. So if the claim was to say, just like Robert King was asking, $350 million, whew, that's a lot of money. So if you use institutional arbitration, the institute will bring out their schedule of fees. If the panel is a panel of one, or a panel of three, are they fellows as arbitrators? Do they have a chartered arbitrator there? You consider all those factors. What's the nature of the dispute? And then for arbitration, the awards are final and binding. So yeah, think about that, guys. Let's do better. So in wrapping up, I just want to know from you guys, do you think Ford was wrong in their action? Do you think Robert King should have given up at some point? I mean, 30 years is a long time. I'm 31, so I can imagine how long and how patient he was, what his mental health was. He actually, his wife left him because of this whole dispute. So things were not really so rosy for him. I mean, it took a lot of determination and patience from him. I give him kudos for that. Let's keep doing things the right way, IP wise. Talk to another IP firms out there. So yeah, we're wrapping up here. If you want a blog version which will be more detailed, let me know in the comment section, guys. Thank you so much for listening again. I appreciate you guys. So yeah, see you in the next episode. Bye bye.